Hare Krishna, this is your spiritual friend Sanatana Dharma Das. So, today we are going to be discussing a very important conversation. Yes, it's going to be a conversation between two friends that we are going to be discussing. But before we proceed any further ahead, we like to recite some prayers. So, please recite along with me. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमा ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धोभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं परमानन्दमाधवम् Hare Krishna, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you once again for today's special lecture today evening, the Saturday evening lecture. So I was initially mentioning about a conversation. This conversation happened 5,000 years back. It happened 5,000 years back between two very close friends. What is the conversation I'm talking about? One of the friends was a very divine personality, a very divine, elevated personality. And the second friend was a person who was bewildered, who was confused about one's duty, who was experiencing a weakness of heart. Well, what, what am I referring to? I'm referring to the conversation of Bhagavad Gita, that particular literature which has thoroughly stood the test of time. So much so that even after 5,000 years, we are trying to churn out very essential principles from this wonderful literature. So, this is not just an ordinary conversation between two friends. This is a conversation between God and the spirit soul. Yes, a soul, Arjuna, of course, Arjuna was not an ordinary soul, ordinary conditioned soul. Arjuna was a person who was an associate of God. Yes, even he was quite an elevated personality, but he was playing the role of a person who is a conditioned soul. So, conditioned soul and God, Bhagavan and Jiva, their conversation. That is why it is called Bhagavad Gita. Gita means song, and Bhagavad or Bhagavan means the supreme personality of Godhead. So, Bhagavad Gita is not just an ordinary song. In this world, we have an observation that many people come up with very good numbers, different playback numbers, songs, and different music tunes, etc. But they come in, they become popular, and they eventually die out. That is the thing with the material sound vibration or material music. On the other hand, this is a spiritual music because this is a divine song of God Himself. So this song can never ever die out. Yes, because just as God is eternal, similarly, God's sound vibration is also eternal, the Bhagavad Gita. So, this is the timeless wisdom that we are going to be discussing about. And the session's title that I've given is Timeless Wisdom for This Time of Boredom. Well, this is not just a message which is meant for people who are bored. Of course, even people who are bored are welcome to hear this message, but this is a message which is a must to be understood by each and every person. Everybody should know this, right? Everybody should know this message. So, what exactly is the Bhagavad Gita? I would like to recite a shloka which is spoken by Shankaracharya. Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dogda Gopalanandana Partha Vatsa Sudhir Bhukta Dugdam Gitamritam Mahat. So, what is being spoken in this shloka? This shloka says That Sarva Upanishado Gavo, if we consider the source of every knowledge, the knowledge, very knowledge, right? To be like cows. Hmm? Dogda, Gopal Nandana. So Lord Krishna, who is also called the Gopal Nandana, is that person who is the person who is milking that cow. Yes, he's milking the cow. Partha Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta. So Partha or Arjuna, Arjuna is also called the son of Pritha. Pritha is Kunti Maharani. Yes, so Arjuna is called the son of Pritha, and he is the calf, the recipient of the or the person who is the young one of the cow. Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. Then what is Bhagavad Gita? The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of that cow, the essence of Upanishads. That is why Bhagavad Gita is also called Gita Upanishad, one of the Upanishads. And the essence of a cow is the milk, and the essence of Upanishad is the Bhagavad Gita. So we have starting to develop to understand what exactly is the right spirit to understand Bhagavad Gita. Right? We are setting up our mindset. So, the first and the foremost thing that we need to understand is that Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all knowledge. That is why another name that is given to Bhagavad Gita is Raja Vidya. Krishna says he distributed the Raja Vidya through Bhagavad Gita. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So, this is not just any knowledge, mundane knowledge, theoretical knowledge. No, this is very practical knowledge. Pratyakshavāgamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. That knowledge which can make you really happy, blissful, delighted. That is the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So if Arjuna happens to be the cow, the calf of the cow, then Bhagavad Gita is meant for Arjuna, right? Yes? Bhagavad Gita is meant for Arjuna. No, absolutely not. It's not just the calf who drinks the milk of the cow. It is the entire human society who drinks the milk of the cow. Correct? So it's not that the Bhagavad Gita is only meant for Arjuna. The Bhagavad Gita is meant for each and every one of us. Correct? So Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. But it is very important for all of us to be in the mood of Arjuna in order to be a good student of the Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna is the person who carried the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. If we do not be in the spirit of Arjuna while receiving this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, then we will be like those people who lick the packet of milk from outside. Nowadays, milk comes in plastic bags, right? Correct? That's how we all get milks at our doorstep. And what do people do with the milk? They cut the milk and they take the substance inside. So in order to access the substance inside, we need to understand the spirit. The people who don't understand Bhagavad Gita in the right spirit, they will always lick the packet of the milk from outside and will be deprived of any nourishment from the milk which is inside. So similarly, unless we know the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, which is to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, yes, follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, that is when we will actually be able to access the deeper truths of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, we'll remain with the letter of the law and never understand the spirit of the law. Okay. So, what is the right spirit of understanding Bhagavad Gita? So, Krishna himself testifies this to Arjuna. He says, Saevayam maya tedhya yoga proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. So Lord Krishna says, I'm willing to deliver to you the entire confidential secret message of Bhagavad Gita, my dear Arjuna, because of two things that you qualify for. Number one, bhaktosime. Number two, sakha cheti. The number one qualification of entering into the spirit of Bhagavad Gita is we need to understand that Bhagavad Gita is a book which teaches us how to become devotees of God. So if we are not having that particular goal to become devotees of God, and we are opening up the Bhagavad Gita for just some kind of word jugglery, some kind of information, some kind of just a philosophical or theosophical treatise, well, that's not going to work out. Yes, that's not going to work out. One has to approach Bhagavad Gita in the mood of becoming a devotee, an aspiring devotee. Bhaktosime. Second, Sakha Cheti. One should not be very envious of Krishna. Rather, one should have a very friendly disposition with Krishna. If we do not have a friendly disposition towards Krishna, then we are really not going to take out any benefit out of the Bhagavad Gita. Because Krishna is no ordinary person. In the Bhagavad Gita, what is the name that is mentioned for Krishna? Does it say Krishna Uvacha? Absolutely not. It says Bhagavan Uvacha, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So each time Krishna is about to speak, the opening statements are Shri Bhagavan Uvacha and not Krishna Uvacha. This very clearly shows that how Bhagavad Gita is a special literature. It is spoken directly by God for each and every one of us to be awakened. Just as every machine has an associated manual with it, right? Suppose you have a washing machine. You want to know how to operate a washing machine. You just don't start pressing all the buttons of the washing machine. Well, I like this button, I'm going to press this. After this, I'm going to press that button. No, that doesn't work out. You will end up causing a lot of havoc and damage. So what is the right way of approaching a washing machine? Well, collect the manual. And once you collect the manual, you read the manual, try to understand the operation of the washing machine, and then we can actually operate the washing machine. Similarly, it's very important, my dear friends, to know the operations of how to live in this world, the meaningful and essential principles to lead a very healthy life from all aspects in this world is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, this universe around all of us, this body itself is a machine. Is a machine, right? And how to exactly operate this machine, how to live in this universal cosmos machine, that is something which is taught in the Bhagavad Gita. And a person not reading the manual given by God, the manufacturer, the creator, will end up causing a great havoc to one's life and to others' lives as well. That's what happens when we actually do not have the right spirit of studying the Bhagavad Gita. So understand Bhagavad Gita to be the scriptures, the text, the wisdom given by God to know how to lead our lives. That is Bhagavad Gita. Well, now one may say that, well, Bhagavad Gita was something which was written so many years back. Yes. Or some may say that Bhagavad Gita is meant for old people. First of all, I would like to clarify what is old people. Well, if I ask your age, what would you say? You may say, well, I am 32 years old. Or you may say, I'm 42 years old. Somebody may say, I'm 12 years old. After every time you quote your age, what is the last word that one is using? Old. And what is the meaning of old? Old means anybody who is a candidate for death is called as old. Yes, that is the meaning of old. This is the literally meaning of what exactly is old. So in that sense, each and every one of us are old. Correct? So Bhagavad Gita is actually meant for everybody. If you say Bhagavad Gita is meant for oldies, we are all old. We should all be reading the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is meant for everybody. We need to understand that there are 4 problems of life. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are the real problems. Now these problems of birth, old age, disease and death, they existed many years back. They existed even before uh, the Mahabharata war happened, and they are existing even today, and they will exist here after that also, because they are the real problems. So the 4 real problems will always exist, and thus the relevance of Bhagavad Gita will always be there, because Bhagavad Gita teaches all of us how to solve these 4 problems of life. Yes, because what's the problem? Problem is something which is common to all. Problem is something which nobody wants it, and problem is something which nobody can avoid it. These are called as real problems. And these real problems are actually addressed only in the Bhagavad Gita and not in any other literature of this world. It's always addressed only in the spiritual literatures. Thus, which it is very important, my dear friends, for all of us to understand that Bhagavad Gita gives us the solution to the real problems of life. When you study the Bhagavad Gita in this particular mood, that, well, this is going to be giving me the solution for my real problems of life, That is when you will take the message of Bhagavad Gita very, very seriously. This is again the right spirit of approaching Bhagavad Gita, right? I would like to tell you a story. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had gone to South India, Srirangam. He stayed in Srirangam for 4 months in the Chaturmas during his South Indian travel. And when he went to the Srirangam, he saw that there were many Brahmanas who were sitting in circle and studying the Bhagavad Gita. They were reciting the Bhagavad Gita. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Stu Upanishatsu Brahma Nidyayam Yoga Shastre Krishna Arjuna Sambade. So they were reciting every verse, every particular verse. And there was this one Brahmana who was holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down and he was crying. Well, he was crying, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ignored all of the rest of them and directly went straight to this Brahmana who was like crying. And he was holding the Gita upside down. He said, "My dear Brahmana, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to study the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, I'm not very literate. I'm not very educated. I don't have knowledge of much of Sanskrit. But because my spiritual master, my guru has told me to study the Bhagavad Gita, that is why I'm trying to study this Bhagavad Gita." Yes. And sometimes I'm ridiculed. All of these people, they make a lot of fun of me for not knowing Sanskrit, but still it's my guru's instruction. So I persistently pursue this endeavor to study the Bhagavad Gita. So that's how I'm doing. He said, "Well, that's a very good spirit of approaching Bhagavad Gita, that I am studying the Bhagavad Gita, I am accessing this knowledge for the pleasure of my spiritual master, for the pleasure of my guru. That's great. But I'd like to ask you another question. Why is it that you're crying? Why do you have to cry?" And then this Brahmana said that, "See, Lord Krishna is Lakshmipati. Lord Krishna is supremely knowledgeable. Lord Krishna is supremely beautiful. Lord Krishna is supremely famous. Lord Krishna is supremely powerful. He has all these five opulences in full. And yet, despite being so great, this Lord has agreed to become a chariot driver of his devotee. This is what melts my heart. This touches my heart, and remembering this again and again, I am crying." So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Brahmana, you have attained the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, the right understanding of Bhagavad Gita. Because the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to become a devotee of God and to develop loving devotional service attitude towards God. And this is something that you have already cultivated by just following the instructions of your Guru and approaching the Bhagavad Gita sincerely. These sentiments are awarded by Bhagavad Gita to you. Yes, so you're already very successful. Congratulations." And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with him because he had captured the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, the spirit. So many people may have the text of Bhagavad Gita, but they may not know the context of Bhagavad Gita. Many people may have the letters of Bhagavad Gita, but they may not know the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. So it is like having a login, but not having the password. What is our state? If you have a login for a particular site, you don't have the password, still the access is denied. So access is thoroughly denied for us. Correct? So it's very important that we have the login and the password. So the login is something which is available to everybody, but the password is available only when one understands the spirit. And when can one understand the spirit of Bhagavad Gita? When you read the Bhagavad Gita as per the instructions of the Guru Parampara. That is why I recommend many of my students to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is a bona fide Acharya coming down in the disciplic succession started by Krishna himself. Krishna gave knowledge to Brahma, and this particular sampradaya in which Srila Prabhupada comes, in which my humble self we come, this is called as Brahma Sampradaya, and this is a bona fide parampara. So when we access the scripture by understanding the purports, imports, and the lessons given by the acharyas, that is when we can actually dive down deep into the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, we may just get caught up with the letter of the Bhagavad Gita and never understand the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So the timeless wisdom for this time of boredom, in these times of boredom, is possible when you have the right spirit. So you may have the login, everybody may have the login, but it's very difficult to find the password. And that password is there when you activate and have the right spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you very much for coming this evening and joining us for this particular timeless wisdom for this time of boredom. And we tried here to understand what is the right spirit in approaching Bhagavad Gita. So I'll thank you all very much. This is your spiritual friend Sanatan Dharmadas signing off and wish you a very good night. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.